Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. I'm Eric from the Journal, and here with Keith. And I know, I think some of you I see have been to some of these events before, so you probably know that we've interviewed writers and actors and directors, but tonight's a little different. We're going to talk to folks who are really on the edge of digital media, and as Deb said, doing a lot of this work right here in the building. So I'm excited to welcome Keith to the stage. He's the president of DEFY. DEFY has created, the last I checked, it was over 30,000 videos.
Wow, it's a lot when you say it like that, but yeah I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure a lot of you here tonight know some of the brands and the personalities associated with DEFY. But Keith, before we take a look at some of the work you're doing, can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got to this chair tonight?
Sure. First of all, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming to our building. We previously had signage on it, but then SAG got so big that they booted our signage off. So congratulations to SAG. I'm accidentally in media. I, many years ago, was just somebody who enjoyed watching video on the internet and found a website I like to go to a lot and would just go. And it was always clunky to watch web video. And one day it became easier to watch web video on this one website I like to go to. And then I would go to the traditional media websites of Comedy Central and NBC, and it was really clunky to watch video there. And so I just kept going to this one site, and eventually I emailed the guy and I said, I really like what you're doing. Can we partner together? And then later, and he said no. And then later in the year, he decided he wanted to sell the website, and he called me up, and I bought it from him along with another friend of mine. And basically from that one little website, we managed to build the company. And it was first all user-generated content that we were buying. So when you did something silly, around the time YouTube launched, you could put it on YouTube for free or we would pay you for it. And we still do that today. We buy maybe 100 or 150 clips a week of people doing all sorts of stuff, or we license it. And over time, we expanded the team to produce original content, and Andy, who you'll meet shortly, was one of the first guys we brought on. And you can be lucky, you can be good, and sometimes maybe you're both. And hiring people like that has helped us move into the original content business and build the brands that we have today.
So what year was that, the acquisition?
2005 or 6.
So what did online video look like then?
Not much. It was it was a lot of user-generated content, and then a lot of really talented people, honestly, who did not know how to use or understand the medium. And I could argue that's true today still. The biggest change in the last 7 or 8 years, maybe even 10 years, is not so much that the creators are better or the quality's better, it's that there's more respect for it. There was always unbelievably talented people. And I remember one of my first presentations of the world was of a kid who was a student at, I want to say Cal Poly or Pomona, who had recreated scene for scene or step for step one of the, I think it was the Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader lightsaber scene, just with him and his friend with the actual lightsabers, just using his iPad or his iMac, whatever. And I was like, wow, that kid just did that. And that, imagine how much that cost the first time around. And that kid just did that. So there were super talented people doing super talented things. It was just less structured distribution, less understanding, and less monetization by advertisers.
But this is also before the iPhone had come out, before YouTube. Do you remember a light bulb moment when you thought this will be a prime source of entertainment for folks?
Honestly, I kind of felt that one moment I went from one website to the other. And it was just so clear that it was better to watch it on my terms. And I can't say I saw the iPhone coming or anything like that. I mean, mobile was, I had a phone, everyone had a phone, so it was very clear something was going to change. But it was no aha moment other than, wow, this is going to change. And I think over the years, there have been a lot of aha moments where we look at the size of our traffic numbers and we say, wow, a lot of people watch this. And then we look at cable and we say, a lot of people don't watch that. Or what a lot of stuff they do watch is actually things that were on broadcast or it's sports. But the original stuff, has tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people watching it, and we have millions of people watching some of the stuff we do. And maybe it's not right or fair that they get more dollars for that, but that's a temporal thing. Like over time, that will change. And I think you and I were talking about this before, but I think the best thing that we did was create things that are meaningful to people. And we say internally that we grew up in this content democracy where we would not be in business if people didn't watch what we create. Like we literally have zero ability to survive if we don't satisfy viewers versus the traditional cable infrastructure, which is in existence today because of a business deal that somebody did or because they jam us for fees on our cable bill, but most of which are not meaningful to people. And I'm stealing something that somebody told me in a meeting a few months ago, but it was this notion of a T-shirt test. Like when you meet Andy and you meet Joslyn, the brands they represent, people love and they care about, and they would buy a T-shirt to be proudly associated with. And most traditional cable brands don't have that. They're there just because they're there, and we are meaningful to people, and they're in a race to be meaningful to people. And it's a question of, can they do that or not? But we know that we're already there.
Great. So I'm curious, how many people in the room here have been involved in creating some kind of digital content?
Wow.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, because you said something earlier that I wanted to get back to, which is the licensing that you'll do and sort of the talent discovery you'll do. Considering this is a room full of people who might want to get on your radar, can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, if you break it down, there's a few different components of it. In the last year, we've done more, I would call traditional development, where we're actively looking to source things from the outside. Honestly, until maybe even 6 months or 8 months ago, we didn't actually do that at all. It was all internal ideas, and we found that the needs of what we are trying to do don't necessarily scale at any level related to our ability to process and put through the system our own ideas, particularly as we think about ways to do things in association with more traditional media outlets. The other two ways are we have people that are out there sourcing and watching content all day long, looking for talent, looking for creators, and trying to find ways to partner. And then we find people who find us, honestly. And they are people who are able to get through either one of the castings, one of the production. We have, I think, 150 or 180 people who somehow relate to making videos all day long. And we're always looking to find talented people to do things with. And it's funny because, again, Andy, who you'll meet, Andy does a great job, I think, of doing outreach to traditional media talent and stars. And it's one of the things that has enabled us to do great things with traditional talent is just asking in social media and staying persistent enough. And I think that does work even in this industry. The people who share their work publicly and are persistent and are good tend to get discovered and found if they do it well enough and in the right, respectful way to do it.
Can you give me a recent example of someone you found, someone who caught your eye?
I can't because I don't do that. But they might be able to.
We'll save that one.
Everyone catches my eye. I think everyone's awesome.
Well done. Nice validation for the night. Yeah.
It's hard to do this stuff. I don't know. I can barely take a picture of
So the favorite question of everyone, where are we going? What are you seeing that you think, you mentioned the traditional cable packages obviously being rattled to the core. It's facing all these existential questions. This came up on the Disney earnings call yesterday with ESPN yet again. What do you see happening with all that, and how would you suggest people try to capitalize on this tectonic shift?
We live in this, we joke a lot internally, I should say, that for those of us who are old enough to remember that there was this amazing promise of this 500-channel universe. That everyone used to say, we're going to be in this 500-channel universe. It's going to be awesome and amazing. And we're now in a 500 channel universe plus infinite other opportunities, and we all watch like 3 things. And then a bunch of internet or digital video. And so I keep going back to, if you're meaningful or you have a pathway to being meaningful, you're in great shape because people are watching more video content than they've ever watched before. I think I read today somewhere in the neighborhood of 75% of mobile traffic and time spent is video. And that's only going to go up as Facebook increases their video consumption and presentation. Instagram does it. Snapchat's already committed to it. And every other platform is. So more and more video is going to get consumed. The monetization today is largely driven by people who either don't deserve it or have no ability to have a customer relationship or brand. And that's going to change and go away. So what we're trying to do is continue to create things that are meaningful to people with the assumption that over time, we'll be able to grab more of those dollars. If there's $100 billion of money spent on content, some portion of it's going up for grabs as Esquire shuts down and Clue shuts down and all these other things that aren't meaningful shut down. And hopefully we'll get it. And then with our creators that we have and with the producers and with the systems we developed, we'll be able to program even better stuff as we have more money to spend on it. For the people who are in the space and who are actively trying to find ways to either get discovered or create things that are bought by other networks, it's honestly a little bit of a challenging time, I think, because we have a lot of viewers, but we don't have infinite budgets. The people that have a lot of budgets they're looking for big name people to try to drive their validation. So what do you do when you're in this weird spot where, if you're a buyer at a big network, your best bet is to do something with J.J. Abrams or somebody, any name that you can hopefully get validation from. And we are eagerly interested in defining and looking for new talent, but our budgets aren't nearly as big. And so I think the best thing you can do is keep trying to create great programming, because the one universal thing that we're all trying to do is find great storytellers and people who know how to execute well. And I've often found that those things do tend to surface. And maybe it takes a little longer than not, but over time, many great things surface, and if you consistently tell good stories, you will be found. I really believe that.
Do you find that the monetization strategy for creators is changing too? Is it still trying to get views, trying to get ads, product placement, that kind of thing, or do you see that changing as well?
I think largely, as you start, that's still the best pathway. I think over time, there's a lot more people and ways to get found that will create opportunities. I had a meeting this morning with What's Up Moms. Have you guys heard of that? It's like What's Up Moms. It's a YouTube channel that is super popular. It wasn't a business meeting. Our kids play soccer together. But I was talking to them, and they've built a really nice company. And they have 12 or 13 people, and they make content for all these different platforms, and it's coming from different avenues. And it's really impressive. And they did it because they were talented and really understood a demographic and understood how to create content that was meaningful for that demographic. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for that. So the flip side of where we are for a creator is there's never been more opportunity to find a distribution channel, understand the distribution mechanics of it, create wonderful content for it, and reach an audience and target them. And you don't need to reach that many of them to make it a decent living. And to make it a huge business, you do, but there's a lot of people making a good living and decent economics by just reaching a small subset of an audience. And it's never been easier to do that.
Well, I get to feel like I'm on The Price is Right or something, because I would like to invite Andy to come on down. This is
Come
Andy
on down.
Signore. So I'm sure many of you know Andy and his work. He is the head of creative at Screen Junkies at DEFY. He is the guy who brought us Honest Trailers. Yeah. These are the videos that this is my favorite. Described the Lord of the Rings trilogy as an 11-hour New Zealand tourism commercial. So, Andy, tell us a little bit about.
Andy also had a lot of impact in creating a lot of the other franchises other than Screen Junkies. So if you know Man at Arms, you know a bunch of the other things we do. He also was instrumental in the development of all of that stuff. So it's not just Screen Junkies, it's a lot of things we do.
Just my Harry Potter. I'm never going to be. I'll never live it. Honest Trailers down. I'm very proud of it. No, I mean, starting out, I had just made content even as a kid in video class in my high school. I was always sort of the guy who had the camera out, always finding friends to make content. So I was doing that, always trying to make content. And then when I moved out to LA to sort of pursue the dream, I came out wanting to be an actor. I took my Groundlings class. I went to Central Casting and hoped I'd play the corpse or the creepy guy. I did all that sort of stuff coming out, and I just realized I applaud all of you because it was so damn hard. Like I hated the audition process. I hated trying to do all that stuff, and I realized, why am I not doing what I was doing my whole life as a kid in LA, which was just to keep making stuff on my own. So I was able to make a lot of content on my own, met with a lot of people, and then a video, I was working at Disney at the time, a video I made sparked their fancy, and I saw a really great opportunity to join this company and be able to use their money to make a bunch of really great content. And I realized quickly that was really a smart move, and I'll work with a really talented team and company to sort of put the content out there, because my whole life, I realized you have to get anywhere, you have to do it. You can't just talk about it. And I got so frustrated meeting other actors, some of them, and other creators who would I'd get like, cool, let's make this thing, and we'd sit there and talk about it for weeks. And I'd be like, cool, all right, I'm gonna go do it. I got a camera, I'm just gonna make it. And that sort of just became sort of always my MO. And I like DEFY a lot because we'd have shows like Man at Arms, and I feel like when I worked at Disney for a long time, I couldn't get anything made. It would take forever to go through so many departments, and it was just, I was realizing like I was in the digital arm of Disney, and I'm like, we gotta move now. Like, what are we doing if we're not doing it? And so a show like Man at Arms was one where it was just on a loft, I found blacksmithing videos, and I was like, this is cool. Like, did you guys know they still made like blacksmiths? I was like, what if he made the He-Man sword? I'd click the hell out of that. And everyone got it. They were like, you're passionate about it? That sounds great. And we made it. And it's become a hit now, 4 years and running, and a TV show in El Rey, so it's amazing.
And
Which is funny, just to go back, like 2 million people watch this video every week on the internet, and we're like fired up about a sale to El Rey, which is weird because there's no way 2 million people are gonna watch it on El Rey, but it's a great partnership, and we're gonna add value to them, and they're gonna add value to us. But that's a weird time frame we're in right now.
Can you take us through that partnership? What does that look like for folks?
For the Man at Arms? I don't even know. I mean, we're still doing our digital version, and we're making a longer form. It's more of a historical approach to it. So how do we make it a half hour? Because on the web, actually, some of the episodes there's certain builds. If you've never watched it, it's really a fascinating art form. They do it all by scratch. With the milling and the forging and stuff, and so they go like how to build a katana, and they do it how they would back in the day. This new version on El Rey is going to be more historical. We're going to start talking about we don't really get to delve into a lot of that. More graphics and fun stuff.
Who's the first guy to kill with the sword, sort of stuff.
So it's just taking sort of the process of the artistic building of it, which the fans love, but then adding some more historical elements and things to it.
Andy, can you take us through sort of what you're thinking about when you're thinking of a concept, or you have an idea that you think could be a show, could be a video? Do you have some internal questions you ask yourself? Could this, is this a one-off? Is this a potential new franchise? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, the first question is, where's it going? What is it? I think sometimes there's an idea, it's a one-off, or it's let's try it and see where it goes. But my general rule of thumb is always to sort of be, would I share that? Would I post that on my Facebook? Is always sort of the internal question I ask myself, because it's not just about the content. I feel like in my own success, it's been, you have to know how to market your content or know who your content is going to be played for. And I think once you find your niche in your group, which we've done in Screen Junkies, it becomes easier to get wins because you've established a base that knows. But when you want to step outside that and try and launch something new, you got to make sure you can put your foot in that it'll have a footing somewhere with a certain demographic, or a title that is going to be shared, or a thing you want to watch that celebrity do that's not being done anywhere else.
What tends to make things shareable? Have you found particular? Because I think that's often treated as this kind of pixie dust, right? That some things are shareable, some things aren't. But I'm sure you've noticed over time that there are things you can do to make your videos.
It used to be easier, to be honest, to go viral, as they say. I don't like to predict that anymore because there's so much content. And the cool things we were doing years ago, Jimmy Fallon now does weekly. So it's sort of hard to compete with everybody. I sort of say there are ingredients you can use for viral success, which it's a longer conversation. But that's how I sort of internally figure out how do I make sure it has X, Y, and Z, which can be a lot of different variables depending on what kind of video you're doing to ensure that it's going to be shared around.
I mean, the one thing I think I've seen over the years just from this side is most people have a story they want to tell, and they don't think about the things that Annie just said, which is what's going to make the audience react, what's going to make them click and share. So a lot of times things are they're not bad stories, they're not bad ideas, but they don't have the built-in hooks to the piece of content. And I think more often than not, a little more thought into not how is this the best story that's ever been told digitally, but how is this the best story that is going to get shared digitally is an equally important use of time.
And I think it is genuinely hard now, and not to plug, he knows I'd plug us, but there's really fantastic movies now that are getting made. There's one I promote all the time called Sing Street that no one saw. We promoted it please go see this movie, it's amazing, and no one saw it. Sing Street, it's called, it's on Netflix, watch it. But it just got passed by, and I think there's always the adage of the great content will rise to the top, and I think it does. But I'm starting to see as we get more and more influx of content everywhere, it's getting harder to sort of guarantee it. So there is a whole generation of people who just want to be famous online and say they're going to do it, and it doesn't work that way anymore. It requires a lot more work and thought and hooks and marketing and things that can help you get there.
Well, great. I think, and to help us continue that kind of conversation, we're going to welcome Joslyn Davis. She is another DEFY Media superstar. She's the executive producer of Clever Media, longtime host, and she also, actually, I found this interesting. She hosts the most viewed news show for Young Hollywood at Clever, and this year was an Amazing Race contestant.
Yes.
So all
and I was
sorts
on The
of-
Price is Right, so I felt like a lot of memories coming back when I was running down right there.
Oh, that sort
moment
of like
was
trigger,
big.
like some muscle
It was a
memory.
trigger point. Yeah, it was big.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, just pictured an airport or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Joslyn, one thing I wanted to ask you is, we were talking earlier about the T-shirt test. How do you make content that people would want to wear on a T-shirt? How does that affect some of the work that you're doing? What are you thinking about when you're making a video when it comes to that kind of connection?
Well, I think one of the coolest things about the internet and YouTube in general, and I mean really any social platform, is that the audience is a huge part of the content. At least for us, they are. And I think that is a huge differentiating point between traditional media and what we're doing online, is that we can literally ask our audience at the end of a video or during a video, what do you think? What are your thoughts? If you like this, leave hashtag body rolls or leave hashtag prune. And these are a few of the silly things that have really caught on with our Clever audience. And they're a part of the conversation. They can literally pick and choose what they want us to move forward with. And I can genuinely say we listen to our audience. We get ideas from them. And they're as much a part of the content as we are. So to answer your question about T-shirts, those two things that I just mentioned, prune and body rolls, which probably mean literally nothing to most of the mainstream world, for our Clever world, are sort of like tokens of, you're a part of our group. And people are buying shirts with those two phrases written on them, which sounds crazy, but definitely passed the T-shirt test, I guess you would say.
And tell us a little bit about how you came to doing all these videos. How did you get started in it?
So when I was in college, I really was pursuing more of a hard news journalism career. And as I graduated, I decided I wanted to move more into, I guess, what a lot of people would think of as the hosting world. And at that point, around that time, I was hired at Clever just from, a normal host casting, which I'm sure you guys are all familiar with going on castings all the time. But the really cool thing about digital is that you have the opportunity, you still do and you did then, to have your hand in everything, not only because there just weren't a lot of people working at our company at the time, but also because you have the opportunity to do all this stuff, like write and produce and sometimes like do catering and do people's hair and stuff like that on the reel. So I was hired at Clever, pre-acquisition, pre-DeFi. This is a decade ago, literally, when we were working in a garage in West Covina, which is so crazy. The show Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is set in West Covina, so I feel such a connection. But we were working in a garage for, a few years, and slowly but surely, we were like, the partner program kicked off on YouTube. We got a few channels as a part of the, $100 million YouTube investment. And we really saw a niche, and we really went for it. And, it seems kind of silly. I think when people watch our videos, they're sometimes like, this is fun, this is awesome, but there's so much strategy behind it. And I'm so excited that, all of us really invested our time and energy and careers in what I think is the future, 100%. So, over the last decade, we've really built Clever as a brand surrounding entertainment news, and that's really where we excel. We're the #1 entertainment news outlet on YouTube. But over the past, oh wow, thanks. Thank you. So interviewing people like yourselves, doing red carpets, going to movie premieres and junkets and everything within that world. But over the last 2 years, we really made a pivot to move more into the personality space, where we ourselves are the personalities doing things like what you just saw, which I wish I could say I did all day, but I definitely don't. And it's been really exciting, after working at a company for a long time, to have this regeneration and explosive growth and a really fun, new, exciting challenge and a way to introduce our audience to something totally new and exciting.
How did you find that pivot from going to being a personality yourself? It doesn't seem like the easiest thing.
It's
for someone like
interesting
myself
because
to think about.
too, like as a reporter, you're really taught to remove yourself from the story and kind of be unbiased. So it's been really exciting and freeing, I have to say. But the answer is kind of happened on accident. Our style channel wasn't really growing rapidly, and we thought, we don't know if it's going to last. We don't know if it's going to stick around. So hey, let's just like be ourselves and make the content a little more free and a little less regimented. For those of you who watch YouTube, the whole beauty guru idea of like, here's how you do the smoky eye and whatnot is very popular. Well, we have legitimately no idea what we're doing, and we really let that shine through. And funny enough, people love to see real women fail, I guess, in a fun, lighthearted way, in an aspirational way. And that's how the show was born. And we found out that people just liked us. So it's been a really exciting journey. And the show that you just saw the trailer for, Beauty Trippin', was a spin-off from another show that was really successful.
Well, you said something before the clip that struck me, which was that a lot of times these videos can just seem kind of flippant and fun and like you just are filming you and your friends, but there's a strategy behind them. Do you remember, is there anything you can cite from the clip that you remember thinking this is the strategy behind this particular video?
I mean, there's so much strategy behind everything we do. A lot of the videos, like especially the personality-driven content, we're planning months and months in advance. Something as silly as Halloween is huge for us. So we're already planning 6 months out, 10 months out. What are we going to do for Coachella? How are we going to provide our audience with something new and exciting surrounding award show season? So when you think about our content strategy and what we're planning to produce, we really are thinking about things. I mean, we're thinking about Comic-Con already. So I think that's kind of a simple answer, but when I'm looking at those videos, the show Beauty Trippin', which was the new show that we were launching as a result of another show being successful, we already had a brand on board to launch that show with us before it was even public knowledge. So that was something really exciting for us, that a brand like Nair, who came on as the partner, was already believed in us just as a result of the content they had seen and was willing to invest in our new show as a result of the success of some of our programming.
Well, it actually leads right into my next question for all of you.
Because you got to make money, It's a business.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly. And so I'm wondering, when brands or potential partners approach you, what are the things that you go through to make sure it's a natural fit, that it's not going to alienate fans, those kinds of questions?
Andy just says no. Joslyn just says yes.
To everything.
No, I'm kidding. I mean, you guys can answer from your perspective. I think there's a natural challenge with how you do it, and I think, the 50,000 foot level, things like Nair are fascinating because they killed it for Nair. Nair will never get as much validation in an ad in front of so many people as they did when they put this episode together. And the good news is they know it and they're excited by it. And that's why we're excited about what we do, is because of just how great a job they do thinking about the ad experience and how to make it native and how to integrate it. On a creator level, though, Andy, I mean, you get asked all the time. So what do you guys think about?
Well, I mean, for me, it's like I think of it as a consumer and as a creator, because I think you have to do that in order not only to help us and protect our audience, but to help them. Because I see it all the time, bad brand integrations that feel forced and aren't supposed to be there. It's like I do fight against it a lot because I want to protect the brand and the audience, and I want to help the company actually have a good integration. So it's always sort of trying to work with them, because I think a lot of times a brand comes with a very specific idea. They think they know exactly what's going to work and just put it in your content. And they have to learn, no, you have to work with us. We're going to listen to you, but listen to us back too. And so I think it's always about finding that perfect mixture of how do we work this together to make sure this pleases both of us. And I think we did a really good example on Screen Junkies where we've done sort of these honest ads where we sort of call it out for what it is and have our epic voice show up and, am I in a commercial? Just so then the audience is in on it and gets it and they're more okay with it. And then they're sort of excited for us because they're like, oh, cool, okay. I never pay for your content on YouTube, so great, I'll let this ad happen, because you're telling them what it is. I think a lot of times brands make the mistake of just trying to sneak it in and it's not an ad, and then if it doesn't feel genuine, the audience sees through it and they get frustrated because they're like, screw you, I don't want to buy that now.
Well, we just had a great one for Man at Arms that launched yesterday or 2 days ago for the game For Honor, where one of the greatest things about the format that they created was how natively you can integrate sponsors into it. And I think wasn't the first episode
Yeah, it was HBO, I think. We
Jamie
did a sword
Lannister.
from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it was a Kingslayer sword. So here was a show that they wanted to make that we were going to make, and all of a sudden they're like, why don't we just work with HBO and make a sword that promotes the launch of Game of Thrones? And when they can come up with that native magic, it's amazing. One of the best trends, broadly speaking, though, is we don't have to do that nearly as much. I mean, if you go into Honest Trailers anytime this next few months, you're going to see some work around Citigroup and Citibank. And that's because the brand and the equity that we've built has become so great that there are just people that want to buy commercials. And sometimes that's just awesome, too.
That's fascinating. I mean, is Citibank comfortable putting it in your voice and letting you have a little bit of say in how it's received?
It depends. I mean, sometimes they don't want to be in the Honest trailer exactly, but they want to be in front of it. Or like Pizza Hut, for example, did an Honest ad where their hot dog pizza thing, which we were like, what? Hot dog pizza? What is that? Then they were okay with us sort of embracing sort of that and doing that sort of thing. So it depends on the brand, but they understand their audience watches that and they want to be around it. And so sometimes a brand wants to be careful because Honest Trailers, that's our rule even when a brand comes, is you can't tell us what not to say in the trailer because we've built this up and our audience expects us to be honest. So as long as you're comfortable that we may make fun of a movie that you may or may not like, it can work. So it's sometimes it's the only struggle.
Yeah, I'm noticing that a lot in podcast advertisements too. It seems like brands more comfortable having podcast hosts do the ads in their voice and riff a little bit too. It certainly stops me from skipping ahead more often.
But yeah, if you can get it in genuinely and have the content you're buying your placement into be excited about it and have it feel genuine, that helps everybody. When you try
1950s again. Yeah. No, we're welcome.
That's the main thing, really, is I feel like the word authentic is tossed around all the time, but it's gotta be. I'm the person listening to those podcasts, and if it's people I trust, I promise you I'm going to buy that product or at least look into it. And that's at the core. I mean, our audience is primarily 13 to 30-year-old women, so we're probably not going to be doing Axe body spray unless they holler at us, what's up? But I think our audience really trusts us, and we tend to partner with brands that are believable to our brand also.
You said that you're already planning for Comic-Con, which is several months out. You're already, you have this long-term strategy. What do you do when you need to do something that's more rapid response, whether it's to the news or to something that you're responding to from fans?
Well, that is the beauty of the internet. Also, good story. Yesterday we had a request from Dr. Oz, the TV show, who we've worked with in the past, and his team was like, "Hey, Clever, I want to have you come on the show and talk about chickpea tofu," which is the latest trend, guys, in case you weren't aware. And we were able to rally our team yesterday in the evening, get a whole team together, a chef to come in and help us, and we shot it this morning, and it'll be on Dr. Oz on Friday. So that's
We had a,
Thank you.
yeah, I mean,
honestly though, like, credit to our whole team because we work with amazing people. And the cool thing about that first video we saw is that when you walk into our office, you're seeing people from Smosh and from Screen Junkies and from Clever and from all different facets of our company. And it really is and does feel like a team effort. And that's how we're able to accomplish those things.
yeah, I mean, it's a similar example, but I was just about to echo it's a team thing because we had an Honest trailer we did a couple weeks ago, and it was the Willy Wonka Honest trailer, and there's a musical medley, and suddenly we heard that Michael Bolton was available and willing to sing it for us. And this was literally like 3 days before we upload, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to get this to happen because how do I turn down Michael Bolton, He's fantastic, and it's like a legend. So we literally record him on a Friday. I hire a whole crew to finish for the weekend to get it up on Monday. And Michael Bolton is fantastic, but he's a very established talent, and he has his own things you have to protocol, and his people want to make sure they've approved his image and everything in there. But because we're digital and because we have such a staff, we can make those decisions and say, this is worth it. We got to fit this in, and let's work overtime to make sure we get this win.
I mean, just for perspective for those here, I mean, Andy has a whole news operation that does a number of videos a day. The whole point of that is to be able to react to what's going on and be able to act. And I mean, Clever does 10 a day, 8 a day. You have to be able to do what they do, but also be able to react to the world around you, especially in the digital ecosystem. And so I think what's great about the sample of stuff that was showcased was we do both. We do really in-depth stuff where they go off-site, but then they've got these big teams that they work with and that work for them that actually enable them to be quick time react to anything.
Well, considering we have a room full of a lot of people interested in making this content themselves, I'm curious, what kind of just video 101 tips would you have? I mean, everything from what kind of cameras people should be looking at to what kind of colors they should avoid. I just am thinking about what are the things when you're watching a video you start picking out or noticing, both in good ways or in bad ways?
Good sound is always important. A lot of people don't think that, and it's very off-putting if you don't at least just have a nice little mic on you. And lighting, yeah.
And lighting is so important also. But, I was talking to someone earlier when we first got here, and, people will be like, wow, it's so cool that you have this awesome job. Like when I talk to, students from my hometown where I grew up or whatever, and I'm like, literally, there are people as talented as me who maybe went to the same college as me or whatever, but 90% of me being where I am and being able to do these cool things is I just did it. And I feel like if you have an idea for a video or, a concept, and it's within reason financially, obviously, just do it, and you'll learn so much by doing it. I think, and that is so much of the process is in just making it happen.
Yeah, because it's not just one video 101 tip. It's a year of doing those, and then you figure out yourself what's actually working, or what don't I like about this, or what actually got someone to respond to it.
I don't make, but I say this from having observed, and I mean, if you look at these two in particular, a lot of they're talented, but it's the hustle, and they write, they produce. I mean, they literally produce. They write a lot of stuff. They are in a lot of the videos. They live and breathe what they do, and are. I mean, I've heard all these words, predators and this and that, but they know how to do a lot of things and can do them all well and effectively, and are the first people up and the last people going to bed. And that that hustle combined with the ability to do many things really makes a difference over the short run, actually.
Well, I want to thank everyone for such great questions tonight, and also thank these folks up here for great answers. Thank you.